Right now, the attic above your head may be sitting at over 150 degrees, and it is quietly driving up your cooling bill every single summer afternoon. In 1971, a $4 attic ventilation method that protected American homes from this exact problem for decades was quietly dropped from common building practice. As energy companies found a more profitable solution to sell you, I'm going to show you exactly what they replaced, exactly who profited, and exactly how to fix this yourself this weekend for $4. Tell me in the comments what your cooling bill runs in the middle of summer, because what I am about to show you is very likely the reason it is higher than it should be. When the summer sun beats down on your shingles, the temperature inside an improperly ventilated attic can easily climb to 150 or 160 degrees Fahrenheit. That happens even when the outdoor air is only sitting in the low 90s. That trapped, stagnant air stays locked under your roof. It acts like a giant radiator, baking your ceiling joists and pressing heat down through your insulation into your dry wall. Your air conditioner has to fight this overhead heat source constantly, working overtime just to keep your living room livable. According to the US Department of Energy, the remedy is a balanced pattern of passive airflow. You need cool air entering through soffit intake vents at the very bottom of your roof line, and hot air escaping through a ridge exhaust at the very peak. If we contrast a sealed attic that pools heavy, stagnant heat with a system of continuous attic airflow, the governing principle becomes obvious. It is just simple physics. Hot air rises, and if you do not give it a clean path out of your home, you will pay the price on your cooling bill month after month. During the post-war housing boom of the 1950s and the 1960s, builders here in America did not overcomplicate things. They understood basic AIR flow. If you look at the ranch homes built back then, simple, inexpensive soffit and ridge venting was standard practice. It cost next to nothing to install during construction, but it kept the attic breathing. But by the late 1960s and early 1970s, the housing market shifted. Central air conditioning became the new modern promise, jumping from 13% of homes in 1960 to over 36% by 1970. As mechanical cooling took over, building code discussions and trade manuals in the early 1970s began prioritizing thick insulation and heavy-duty HVAC units over simple, passive design. The focus on natural airflow faded. Now, I want to be entirely transparent with you. If you search the public archives for a single smoking gun paper that outlawed these vents in 1971, you will not find one. What the records do show is a quiet, systemic shift where passive venting was de-emphasized in local building codes, paving the way for a massive retrofit industry. That is how a $4 vent became a $500 retrofit, and you do not have to look far to see who profited from that change. The physics never changed, only the industry's willingness to use it. To see what happens when you reclaim this forgotten common sense, we have to look at a small homestead in rural Indiana where a retired nurse decided she was done paying the power company's premiums. You don't need a high-priced contractor, and you certainly don't need new ductwork. Go up into your attic on a clear day with a flashlight. Look down at the very edges of your roof line where the rafters meet the attic floor. That is your soffit area. You should see points of daylight coming through. If you don't, or if you see fiberglass insulation packed tight into those corners, Your air intake is completely choked off. Take a garden rake or a simple wooden pole and push that insulation back. Clearing that blockage restores the natural highway for fresh outdoor air to enter at the lowest point. If your home has solid eave panels with no vents at all, you can fix this yourself. Grab a drill, a saw, and basic hand tools. Cut simple rectangular openings between the rafters and screw in aluminum louvered soffit vents. They cost about $4 a piece at any local hardware store. Once the air can get in, it needs a clear exit. Make sure you have a static ridge vent running along the peak of your roof or functional gable vents on the flat side walls of the house. This gives the rising heat a direct path out. For a typical home, the entire material cost for these vents runs under $50, scaling up only slightly for larger roofs. It is a simple project you can finish in a single afternoon. Once these vents are open, the laws of physics do the work for you 24 hours a day without drawing a single watt of electricity from the power grid. A retired nurse out in rural Indiana put this very method to the test. She lives in a sturdy ranch house from the 1960s, but every single summer, those second-floor bedrooms turned into a sweltering heat trap that made sleeping almost impossible. It was a constant, frustrating sign that something directly above her ceiling was going wrong. From June through September, her cooling bills hovered around $200 a month. That is a heavy burden on a fixed retirement income, and she was tired of watching her hard-earned savings drain away to the utility monopoly. She also refused to pay thousands of dollars to an HVAC contractor who wanted to sell her an expensive new cooling system. Instead, she decided to look for herself. She climbed up into the attic space and found the culprit. During a previous renovation, workers had blown in a thick layer of insulation, but they piled it right over the soffit vents, completely sealing off the intake. The attic could not breathe. In a single afternoon, she cleared the blockage with a simple rake and installed 2 new louvered vents. The total cost for the hardware was under $20. The results were immediate. For the rest of that summer, her monthly cooling bills dropped by roughly $60. When she showed me the before and after bills, she was proud of her work. She told me she simply needed the air to move as designed. It is proof that simple physics, once restored, works better than any high-priced mechanical bandage. My grandfather didn't need a computer or a corporate trade manual to tell him how to keep a building cool in a humid Tennessee July. If you look at any surviving 19th century farmhouse or timber frame barn across this country, you will see the proof built right into the rafters. Long before the era of coal-fired power plants and modern air conditioning, our ancestors managed heat by working with nature instead of fighting it. They installed cupolas at the highest ridge lines and wide gable vents on the side walls, relying on the simple reality that hot air rises and must be let out. This same passive cooling logic kept homes comfortable for centuries, from traditional American homesteads to old-world brick structures worldwide. We didn't invent this simple venting method, we just forgot how to use it. Opening up these pathways in your attic today isn't some modern trick or a contractor's gimmick. It is reclaiming a piece of inherited, passive knowledge that kept families cool long before the utility companies ever sent their first bill. Today, as big power companies squeeze our pockets, I believe the solution isn't buying their expensive technology. It's about reclaiming the basic physics my grandfather trusted. True self-reliance starts right under your own roof. Let the AIR flow. Share your thoughts in the comments below.